Crown Court judges are going to be made to sit a record number of days in the next financial year in a desperate effort to clear a backlog of 73,000 serious criminal cases.
It might help ease the burden on our courts, but does more need to be done to prevent crime? Earlier in the programme, we heard from a prolific shoplifter who steals at least £1,000 worth of goods every day. She told us why she doesn't fear getting caught. And
let's have a listen.
Sometimes I do get caught, but very rarely the police get called. And if the police do get called, sometimes I get off there. And I've only ever been locked up for the once and still not charged.
Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood joins us now from Westminster. Good morning. You are making an announcement today about efforts to tackle the backlog in our courts. And as I understand it, even with what you're announcing today, the backlog is not going to go down, it's going to go up. It's going to continue to get worse.
Yes, look, this government inherited a backlog of 73,000 cases in the Crown Court. We have announced today an unprecedented level of funding for the Crown Court to sit at 110,000 Crown Court sitting days. That's the highest ever that will have ever been sat in the Crown Court. So these are unprecedented changes that we are making. But you are right that even sitting to this level, or even sitting beyond this level to the full maximum judicial capacity, that backlog is still going to be around 100,000 by 2030. And the backlog is going up on one level for good reason, because it means that the police are doing their job and that cases are being prosecuted. But the sheer scale of demand coming into the system means that we also need to look at wider once-in-a-generation reform of the Crown Courts. And that's the work that I've asked Brian Levison to conduct for this government. He will make his recommendations very soon, after which we will consider what legislation we need. So taken together, the massive uplift in funding that we're announcing today, as well as once-in-a-generation reform, that is how we ultimately can crack down on that backlog.
Yeah, but as we pointed out, I mean, the numbers of cases are just going to avalanche, aren't they? Let's talk about shoplifting, because many of those cases simply not getting anywhere near a court. They're not even being charged. And we just heard from a representative of USDAW, the Shop Workers Union, even when they call the police don't even come out. Now, tell us, when is this measure coming in that police will investigate, charge, prosecute people who shoplift under £200 worth of goods? And where are the police officers to do that?
Well, the Home Secretary has announced the Crime and Policing Bill, which will have its second reading in the Commons in the very, very near future. We're just days away.
When?
We're just days away from the second reading of that bill. It's already been introduced into Parliament. That will obviously need to pass through all of the stages in Parliament. We will want to make as quick progress on that bill as we can. It has many, many other measures in it, but it does have specific measures to tackle the sorts of crime that we know blight neighbourhoods, and shoplifting is one of those crimes.
So that
measure has already been introduced, and it will go through Parliament now.
So it's still got some way to go before it receives royal assent and becomes law. Does it come with a whole tranche of police officers available to investigate these crimes, or will shoplifters basically be able to carry on? It doesn't matter what the law says, because we simply don't have enough bobbies on the beat.
Well, this government is determined to turn that situation around. It's why one of the key planks of our plan for change is to have 13,000 extra neighbourhood police officers on our streets, exactly to provide both the deterrent effect of having bobbies on the beat in town centres up and down the country, and also to make sure that these sorts of crimes, which are written off by the previous government, there was an effective immunity for shoplifting under £200 under the previous Conservative administration. We're determined to turn that around. We're not willing to tolerate a situation where shoplifting isn't taken seriously. The Home Secretary is making progress on getting those...
Minister, when will that happen? And the reason that I press this point is because we're in a situation where billions are now going to Ukraine. People here think, why aren't we protecting our own? We know very good arguments for that. But people want to feel safe in their neighbourhoods. They want to see more police officers. They do not want young lads in shops being threatened with machetes and not being able to go back to work. And they certainly don't want to see 16-year-old children being shot dead outside tube stations in South London, which has just happened. So when are we getting more police officers, and how do you square that with sending billions to Ukraine?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say is our security matters, both in terms of the situation in the world and also the situation here at home. Why does it matter that this government has supported Ukraine, the Ukrainian people, against the invasion from Vladimir Putin? Because that affects the whole of Europe's security. It affects us here at home as well. So it is necessary that we make sure that as a government we are protecting our people against threats from abroad, and that we are able to stay safe in a fast-changing world with new security threats emerging all of the time. That is the first, responsibility of government. And you've seen the changes that we've already made on defence spending. In particular, we've had to make a difficult decision on international aid, but that is designed to make sure that we are equipped.
More cuts are coming. Let's be realistic. That's not enough, is it?
Ourselves,
with these pledges on defence
in an ever-changing world.
I think viewers could totally accept that. But they want to know where the money's going to come from, because it's not going to be enough. So where are we going to cut? Because you're promising police officers, you're promising extra security for people in Ukraine. You're not going to be able to pay for everything.
The changes that we've announced on defence, of course, we've identified where that money is coming from. That's a difficult decision on switching spend from international aid into the defence budget. We are now going through a spending review period. The OBR is going to make its forecast later this month, and the Chancellor of the Exchequer will be responding to that, and the government will then conclude the wider spending settlement for the rest of the Parliament. I can't get ahead of that process with respect to the airwaves today, but we are looking to make progress.
But Susanna Reid, there is no doubt that on the basis of the fiscal numbers the Chancellor set out in the budget and the public spending plan she put in, and the fact that she's protecting money for the National Health Service and for defence, there is no doubt that in the spending review, the budget for the Justice Department is going to be cut in real terms, and for the Home Office cut in real terms, and for local government cut in real terms. The Institute for Fiscal Studies say the only issue is how big the cuts are. You are going to face real-term cuts in your budget at a time when even your record spending is seeing the backlog in the courts going up rather than down. How will you cope with cuts in the Justice Department budget?
Well, look, a couple of things I would say. Firstly, this government inherited an extremely difficult fiscal situation.
Of course.
It's important that
we're talking about what happens in the future now.
No, I know, but it's important that every part of government plays its part in getting the books back into balance. We've already had to make difficult choices in phase one of the spending review process. But despite that, I've been able to go further on Crown Court sitting days, which I've announced today. But that has still involved some difficult decisions. And there's no doubt, as the Prime Minister has been very clear himself, that there are further difficult decisions to come.
Can you manage real-term cuts in the Justice Department in the spending review?
Well, look, let's see where that spending review gets us. But
there's no doubt you're going to have real-term cuts. There's no doubt there's going to be real-term cuts. Are you going to be able to manage that?
There is no resiling from the fact that there are, in the near future, some difficult choices to be made. Those are live conversations in government. We're currently conducting a line-by-line, zero-based review of every bit of government spend across every department in government. That's a process that hasn't taken place for 17 years. So it'd be improper for me to get ahead of all of that work. But there is a lot of work going on. Those are live conversations.
You can deal with real-term
cuts. Let's see where we get to. No, let's see where we get to at the end of that spending review process. I'm not going to comment on conversations that are being had as part of the spending review process.
Shabana Mahmood, Justice Secretary, thanks very much indeed for joining us.